Hello YouTube friends and subscribers. A dripping tap. That's no good to anybody, is it? Let's see if we can sort this out today. Now the first thing we want to do is discover which side's leaking. So it's the hot. The hot's the side that's dripping. You can tighten and you will just about stop the drip. But we're going to see what exactly is going on inside that tap. Now, obviously the first thing you're going to do before you start fiddling around with your taps is what, guys? Yeah, exactly right. We're going to turn the water supply off. Now, usually under the sink, you'll find something that's going to help. Now, these are isolating valves here to both hot and cold, so that should do nicely. You may have to find the rising main to turn the cold off, and you may have to go into your airing cupboard to turn the hot off. When it comes to having tools on your draining board or your worktops, why not just give yourself a nice soft surface to put your tools on so that you don't get into trouble with your nearest and dearest for leaving dents and marks on her lovely worktop. Now the next first thing you need to do before you start is get some water in your kettle, because it's going to be tea break eventually. Right, we're going to turn the water off, so I'll just allow a slow trickle to come through the tap. And we get under the sink here with a decent sized screwdriver and just turn that slot across the ways, and the cold or the hot the same. We don't do rehearsals here, guys. I must say these are pretty well solid, these isolating valves. Now they were quite stiff, especially the hot, but eventually turned. So when the slots are across the ways like that, that's the water shut off. Now the plan is to remove the head of the tap and see if we can get to the actual valve inside the body of the tap. First thing we're going to need to do is get this cap off. So you can usually do that with a sharp object, possibly a Stanley knife. Other knives are available. And inside there you've got a Phillips head screw. If you've got one of these handy sets from Wilko or Lidl's, you should be able to find a bit that will fit that. Too big, just right. So we just take this off. Bung the plug so that anything you drop in here doesn't go down the gurgler. That's that. That's the top. Put those to one side. Now this head should just come off. And what we're left with here is the gland. And my guess is that some bit of muck has come floating up through the pipe and got in between the gland and the rubber seal, which when you screw the tap down, it seals onto the seating of the gland. And obviously if there's a bit of muck in there, it's going to allow water to pass. Now, we're going to take this apart. Let's see if I can get you a bit closer. My feeling is we're going to put a spanner on this bit and just loosen it and see what happens. Now, there's an 8-inch monkey wrench here. Really, you'd be better off using the correct size spanner if you've got one in your garage somewhere. A monkey wrench might do it. I suppose that's what most of us DIYers are going to have. So to untighten, we're going to rotate anti-clockwise. That's well on. Right, it just so happens that I've found a 17mm spanner. Now, I'm going to have to put quite a bit of pressure on here, so what you don't want to do is wrench the tap about. So I'm going to try to sort of give some back pressure here as I turn the gland in the sort of anti-clockwise direction. Now these are put on in a factory, so as you'd expect. Okay, that's well on. Right, now this is probably not something that every DIY is going to have lying about, but that's a piece of 3x2 timber which I've jammed nicely in between the back plate there, the upstand, and the tap to stop it rotating while I put a massive amount of pressure on. This is kind of just DIY heaven, where you have to make do the best you can. Right, with that piece of timber in place here, that's going to stop the taps rolling about, and that has enabled me to get some pressure on and actually open that valve. So it's I think it's technically known as a gland, so that will just come out of there now. Okay, there's going to be a little bit of water about the place. Now that is the old-fashioned washer, and that is usually the thing that has got a bit of muck sort of pressed into it, because the harder you turn the tap down, if there's a foreign object here, it just pushes it deeper into the soft rubber, and you're never going to get it to work. It could be that inside here in the body, where this rubber washer sits on its seating, that may have some muck on it. Quite often just pulling the thing out and giving it a rub over will remove any foreign body that is just stopping the thing working properly. I've dried the inside out the best I can. It doesn't look too bad. It's not furred up with lime scale or anything like that. Okay, I've got a pencil with a rubber on it. I mean, you can go around there if you like to try to clean that surface. You can use some emery paper, I suppose. This is the stuff you use for rubbing down your car paint work. What I'm going to do is just take a little strip of it, put it on the end of the pencil, and just give that surface a little grind down. Well, we've cleaned it to a degree. Now, in addition to using a bit of emery paper in the housing here, I've got a chisel here, a wood chisel. I think it's something like about 5/8. I don't know what that is. Is that about 15mm? It's quite sharp, and it actually fits very snugly in the hole. And what I'm going to do is just push a little bit of weight on it and rotate at the same time. And I'm hoping that that will actually kind of do the job of one of those reseating tools which you can get from Screwfix. I'm slowly rotating the chisel and try to keep it nice and flat on that seating. You can see how much brighter that is in there, and then if you want to, I guess, you can use the embry cloth again on the end of the chisel. Just rotate gently. You can always use the emery paper on the end of your pencil again. What I might do now is just tip a little bit of water in there from the kettle to wash it out a bit. Now that washer, you could change that washer. Personally, I'm just going to give it a little scrape over. It feels lovely and flat to me. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Of course, these days, this stuff is not real rubber, not that the rubber we used to have. The O-ring seems to be okay. Now, just out of interest, if you have a different kind of tap, it might have a ceramic disc inside it. I mean, it would just look virtually the same, but when you pull it out, it would have a disc. And I don't think you can repair those, so you would have to go and get what they call a reviver kit from one of the big sheds, under £10, as far as I remember. And that you would replace that just the same as we're doing here, except we've got more of an old-fashioned type of tap. This is known as a quarter turn tap gland, and your water just comes through the tiniest of holes, so they're not suitable for low pressure. This is more suited to a low pressure system. Just saying. So now we'll put this back in. So we're going to put that back in and tighten it all up. Same thing applies here. You don't want to be wrenching the tap about too much. So then it's just a reverse procedure. These glands have a certain number of splines on them. Some are 20 and some are 24. If you have to replace the whole gland, you need to make sure you know exactly how many splines you've got. And that is, good luck with that. You have to count it. I've just done it, and that's a 24 there. Obviously, you can put your top bit on. It says Bristol. I'm surprised that has leaked. I think this is only a couple of years old, this tap. In actual fact, what I'm going to do is turn it to wide open. The reason for that is when I let the water flow through, I want it to flush that out. Well, it feels better. It felt nicer when it tightened, I must say. And seems to have ceased dripping. We'll turn the cold back on. That should be okay. Well, the hot's not dripping anymore, so I think we might just call that done. This was a strictly DIY job, and here are the tools we've used. Well, thanks very much for watching, everyone. I hope you found that reasonably interesting. How to fix a dripping tap. You don't go running down to the big sheds with £100 in your hand to get a new tap. You don't need to ring the plumber up. You just get some tools out and fix it yourself. Thanks again for watching. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, you better see what else I get up to in the DIY department around the house and around the car. Thanks again for watching.